like to say something about the heaven thing we kind of started in on. If you go to heaven, and you as a personality, your spirit is sort of who you are. Who you are is sort of affected by your memories and by your hormonal responses and your genetics and the interplay of all your physiology. How could that be transformed into something spiritual? Would you get angry? Would you have adrenaline? I mean, what would be the basis for your moods? You know what I mean? What defines you if you're a soul going to heaven? Seems like that would always go away.
Yeah, and I've also been told that if you had any defects, regardless of the fact that the Bible says if you have any defects, you cannot come before the Lord's presence. Supposedly in heaven, you won't have defects. If you're ugly, you won't be ugly anymore. And I have to wonder, well, what is the standard of beauty then in heaven? In all these
there's another interesting question as well, and that is, what age are you in heaven, and do you continue to age? The arguments I've heard is that you'll if. Oh, please, someone mute that microphone. Tristan, if you can just mute your microphone for a second. I mean, if you're very, very old and virtually unable to move, when you go to heaven, are you younger? Or do you get a choice as to what age you are? And would that mean that I could actually choose to be older than perhaps my parents' age in heaven? I mean, it all doesn't make much sense. But, sorry, Tristan, are you with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Yep. Welcome to the show.
Hi, I want to talk about the ancient alien theory for a little bit.
All right.
Okay, what's so strange to me is when I first watched the ancient alien theory on the History Channel, the evidence that was presented was as demonstrable as creationism, because they presented the theory in a way that they said, okay, well, the fact that there are different kinds of paintings with little circles in the top right-hand corner, therefore that's a UFO. Or the pyramids were so intricate they couldn't have possibly been built by the Egyptians. Therefore, they must have been built by aliens. What do you think about the ancient alien theory in relation to creationism? And do you think it's just as dangerous as creationism?
As dangerous? No, I certainly don't think it would be as dangerous.
I was a big Zecharia Sitchin fan when I was a kid. I remember reading about the Nazca lines, and I was very impressed by the medieval Renaissance painting that had the two Jetsons style spaceships up in the top right hand corners of the painting. Did you? Anybody else?
Right? Yeah, the Mona Lisa has that, I believe.
The big difference.
People really say it's the Mona Lisa. Go ahead.
The big difference between the two is that one is mainstream and one is ultimate fringe. You get a lot of people that are creationists. Say half the country that I live in are essentially creationists, whereas probably only 1 in 500,000 or whatever, 100,000 people actually give any credence to the ancient astronaut theory to the point where they actually alter the way they live their life as a result. So that to me is the big difference.
Yeah, and there was a time when I believed in that kind of nonsense, but I was 12. And as I said, I was duped in by what I considered science documentaries called In Search Of.
It's very similar, though, to the whole petroglyphs of dinosaur argument, where you get these people with that obviously want to see something, and they're looking for any shape that could possibly resemble a dinosaur, right? And they got this whole book. What was that guy that called in week before last, the puppy turtle guy? And he has this video where he opens this book he has, and he shows this page after page of drawings that look vaguely like a particular dinosaur. And you look at it, it looks like a lizard. It looks like any kind of sort of squiggly looking quadruped.
Oh, guys, if you take a look in the Skype chat, I posted my version of Mona Lisa, but I don't think that you can see the alien spaceship in the back. But nonetheless, it's just an interesting take on it.
Is she topless?
No.
Oh God.
Now, come on, this is a family show.
Anyway,
Yes,
so
yes.
More,
Sorry, Tristan. Do go on.
Okay. I think the fact that it's dangerous is because it's on the History Channel. The fact that the History Channel gives relevance to it. It will put it on a primetime slot just to make it legit. So people who are watching, let's say, a legitimate history documentary, and then the Ancient Alien Theory documentary, they might actually be confusing it because there are some historians who actually give credence to this theory. So, and I haven't heard anybody talk about how dangerous the theory is because, like you said, it's not as popular as creationism. However, I think if the History Channel continues to broadcast programs like this, more people will think that it's relevant because it's on the History Channel.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem that I had. I was an impressionable child. Some sort of controls or restrictions that when you're going to do a history documentary, that you don't do something that you just made up or that we all know is not true and then present it as if it were factual. I mean, how is it any different to allow that on national television than it is to teach it in a classroom?
And I like that point a lot, Aaron, because I love the History Channel. I mean, I used to be a big World War II buff, and they have some amazing documentaries about, or programs rather, about what really happened, just the facts, interviewing both sides, and this is what the battle was, and it's something good enough to be shown in a classroom. And then they did this appalling, 2012, will it happen? Ancient aliens, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to, it seems like just history is getting kind of boring, I guess, maybe in the public's eyes, and now they have to kind of jump the shark and supplement it with this programming that's, basically, something that you would find on TMZ. So but I've definitely noticed that change in the program because I watched a 2012 special and it was just like, I was just sitting there the whole time. I mean, this stupid thing just made me wonder what a gun barrel tasted like. That's how awful it was. But anyways, go ahead.
Which do you think came first, though? Was there a market for this kind of tripe, or was it that they sort of ran out of content, right? They weren't able to produce a high-quality, historically accurate content, and so they resorted to these really easy, sensationalist.
I agree with the fifth. I agree with the fifth grade ape. It's all about making money because certainly you've got 20% of their viewership that's like, huh? Okay, all right, yeah, interesting, huh? Good to know. And then the other 20% is, what I mean, kind of just sitting there in front of the TV. That's, drama sells. I mean, why do you think that? Look at reality TV. Look at the shift in programming from 20 years ago for today. I mean, look at TMZ.com, which is just basically nothing but seventh grade bullshit about people that we shouldn't care about. I mean, that's one of the most popular websites on the internet.
Wait a minute, I don't understand. How can it not be news if it involves Lindsay Lohan?
There you go. But the thing is that people do care. People like drama. People like the weird. People like that's why I look at carnivals and things like that from the beginning. I mean, people are always attracted to oddities. That's why DPR has this 20,000 subscribers. It's something that's been basic ever since the beginning of time. I mean, that's human nature.
Well,
36,000 actually, Don.
But who's counting?
About there being a market for that tribe. I mean, because when I was a kid, when In Search Of was on, one of the premier magazines, the tabloids at least, was one in black and white called the Weekly World News. Everybody was familiar with that.
I remember that.
And there was definitely a huge market for that. People were buying it up.
Or like the flying pufferfish, or the Bat Boy was always the famous one.
Yeah.
Bat Boy. I love did you ever hear about the what was it, the spotted mountain walrus or the Pacific Northwestern tree octopus, or any of those scams that have been put on Conservapedia?
The one that
the mental image that conjures.
Well, yeah. The spotted mountain walrus, the tree octopus.
Hey, honey, let's go hiking.
And they were presented as fact in Conservapedia by somebody, basically doing a Poe, and they got past, and why conservation is bullshit. Yet in all these areas, the Pacific Northwestern tree octopus continues to thrive and can be seen donning the...
The one that I always found hilarious, and it's still there, it's still up there, is that one about how did the animals get distributed after Noah's Ark, and it's still on there. It's still on there that there were many volcanoes in the Mount Ararat area that could have thrown the smaller animals great distances.
Yeah. That is
you can imagine these koalas in sort of low Earth orbit or ballistic trajectories.
Yeah, thanks to paraclastic flow.
Just remember, roll your knees when you land. You'll be
whatever it is, tuck and roll.
Nothing saves you from a 5 kilometer per second impact rather than rolling your knees when you land.
Except the porcupines had an advantage because they could, stick to the clouds, and then they would float along the bottoms of the clouds until it rained.
Oh.
Tristan, is there anything else you'd like to raise? I've got a few other people in line.
Right. I just want to say one more thing. It kind of saddens me as a future history channel that as a future history teacher, that the History Channel is turning into the hypothetical channel. I remember back when I was in 8th grade, there being a documentary about the evolution of humans, and I thought it was wonderful and scientifically accurate. But now it just seems like, when is the world going to end? What is the ancient alien theory about 9/11 was an inside job? And all these hypothetical, speculative theories with absolutely no evidence to them. And it just saddens me to see what the History Channel has become.
It's conspiracy theories, yeah? It's the conspiracy theory channel.
Indeed.
Yeah. Does anyone remember?
It's sad because it used to be so enjoyable and so, at least seemingly objective that now they kind of hoard out to get ratings or whatnot. I just find it unfortunate because I used to like them so much.
Don, do you remember there were a series of books that they sold them on TV. This is, you're old and everything.
Yeah.
And they were like, a woman dies, and then another woman miles away sees a vision of her, and that was the whole thing. Was they were selling these books for these unexplained phenomenon, and I remember it would be on several times on a program. Unexplained Mysteries. I think that was the name of the book.
Yeah, I heard of the Unexplained Mysteries, but I don't remember that specific one. But yeah, that's. I don't know. I don't remember that specific example, but yeah, I do remember the series Unexplained Mysteries or whatever. Do you have a link?
Mysteries of the Unknown Time Life books. It was. I swear it was on every program during the 80s.
Oh no, I never watched it during the 80s. I mean, shit, I was born in '83.
Yeah, no, this is what makes me wonder if people have critical thinking skills born into them. Is it a natural aptitude, or is it something that can be taught? I know
it's something that can be taught. No, it can be taught, absolutely, because I didn't always have them. I mean, it was actually, I didn't cognitively really develop until I was, I don't know, maybe like 20 years old. That's when I actually started really critically thinking. And I remember it was after I took my biostats course, and I learned about all the statistical fallacies, and I wanted to learn more about logical fallacies and things like that.
And when I was a kid, I believed in the Loch Ness Monster once upon a time, when I was a little kid, because all my family said it was real. But then I remember reading a book about the Loch Ness Monster, and it was talking about how they couldn't prove that there wasn't a monster for whatever reason. And then the author said there is a monster in that lake, asserting it as fact, and then starts going into details about it. And I remember I was maybe 11 or so, and I remember thinking, you can't say that. You can't say there is. You can say there evidently is if there's evidence. You can say there apparently is if people see it. But you can't say there is. And so that's why I feel that my critical thinking, regardless what I had been taught to believe, I had a tendency to think that way, to question these things. And a lot of people grow old never developing that.
Yeah. I think it's also amazing how many people... It's one of those things. People want to believe there is this sort of... unexplained phenomenon, but they would never, man comes home and finds his wife in bed with another man, and he says it must just be an unexplained phenomenon that the aliens are test running their mind control ray on me. I wasn't responsible for it, who would accept this? That this was just, I wasn't responsible for this, it was just an unexplained phenomenon.
It reminds me of the story of Mary and Joseph, what a gullible bloke he was.
Exactly. What one woman's lie about a one-night stand that got horrendously out of hand.
I think we have the next caller. I think Magnus may be with us now. Hello, Magnus. Maybe not. Okay, carry on talking. I'll try and bring someone else in.
Have we ever talked about the idea that Jesus is actually haploid? I mean, that's what the whole Jesus H. Christ thing is. That if he's haploid, he would only have one chromosome, one sex chromosome. Then he would necessarily have gotten it from Mary. Then he would have been single X, right, or XO, which means he wasn't technically male. I think this is the conspiracy that will bring down the Catholic Church, is that Jesus was was a haploid or individual.
Wait, no, what's the term?